Alright, today's presentation will be on the current state of our economy. Okay, our situation with high unemployment, increasing number of layoffs, and a rising number of foreclosures is having an adverse effect upon lack of confidence within our consumers. Many people being concerned as to whether or not to be able to afford to stay in their homes, whether or not to keep their homes, what's going to happen in the future, and what to expect later on down the line, and so on. Okay, as to how do we get to this point, it can be argued by many, and go in several ways, but as far as my personal best, I believe it was by bad decision making, by leaders in our major corporations. I believe the lack of vision. I don't believe they kept in pace with competition with the rest of the world. I think that there was many as well just looking, trying to get quick money, thinking it'd be real easy, preying upon those with not so great credit. Okay. And as well as a lot of banks making some loans to people who making loans to people in situations in which most often their credit would have to be worked on, and they would have to establish their points to get them a little bit higher so that there wouldn't be such a credit risk. Okay, as of beginning of March, unemployment had reached a 16-year high, which is 7.2, but now it's currently has risen to 8.2, which is another 4%, and is expected to rise slightly a bit more. It's not quite peaked yet, and I believe that it's still going to go a little bit higher. We currently have over 11.1 million currently unemployed, many of which are receiving benefits, unemployment benefits, and many of which are also needs to extend theirs, which is currently at this time we haven't seen something that bad since the 30s, and many economists are comparing it not only to the 30s but saying that in the comparison from the decade to decades, this is as bad as the 30s. Okay. Next slide. Okay, in January there's over 2,200 mass layoffs. Now, mass layoffs aren't just a company coming in and laying off 1 or 2 employees. Mass layoff consists of a minimum of 50 employees. Now, when you combine that with over 2,000, we're looking at over 2,227 times 50. Because you have to have a minimum of 50 laid off for considered mass layoff. Okay, now the total number of layoffs is exceeded over 25,000 since the recession began in December 2007. Many need to understand that this is not something that just we woke up one day was here. This is something that had feet print in the sands, but many failed to pay attention. Okay, as far as the New York Times, over 2 million jobs had already been lost, and another 2 million are expected to be lost, which will again increase those who are unemployed, again, which will tax taxpayers because there will be more trying to draw for unemployment benefits, which in the long run, which will increase our current deficit, not to mention Social Security, which will need to be paid to all the baby boomers. Okay, rising foreclosures. Many with adjustable rate mortgages who at the time when the points was looking good, figured, okay, we can handle that, not a problem, we'll be able to save a little bit in case points differentiate and our payments have to go up. But many did not do their homework as well as they should have, because when you rely on an adjustable rate mortgage, you need to keep constant track of what the Treasury Department is doing, because that is going to directly affect what's coming out of your pocket towards that mortgage payment. Many who received, some first-time homeowners, but the majority were not, but their budgets was already tight and did not factor in the fact that when you go to get a loan like that, you need to be able to make enough money to where if anything happened, you could provide yourself with a 90-day pillow. And what I mean by that is, for whatever reason, if you have a financial situation that's going to slow down, if not completely stop your income, you need a minimum of 90 days to buy yourself some time. You need that on-hand cash in the bank whether it's in the savings, checking, or T-bills or whatever. Okay. Many high-risk loans was made because some banks felt it was kind of good. But me personally, I think they just had the mentality of nothing more than a check cashing joint or car title joint. Because many of the people who most often don't have such great credit often gets preyed upon by financial institutions like that without necessarily knowing it, but despite them being in a bad situation and not too many places to turn, they're forced to take loans at higher interest rates, which baffles me personally, because if you can't afford what you already had, what you're already paying, why sign something to pay more? Okay, consumer lack confidence. Many people are just concerned about as to their futures. Do I have to decide between whether I get my medication? Do I buy groceries? How will I be able to survive? I've only got a few years left before retirement. Will my 401 be as worth as much then as it is now? Will I still have a 401, or will it just be completely worthless? Many are concerned as to whether or not they'll be able to send their kids to college. Many are concerned as to whether or not they'll be able to take that vacation they've always worked for. These are concerns in which affect everyone, because these same concerns and thoughts will and can lead to others either maintaining and keeping their jobs or losing them. For example, in the travel industry, they're taking a very big hit right now. Not as many people are traveling because they're too concerned about spending that money, which in turn is hurting hotels and restaurants as well as resorts. And in the end, which always comes to show, as history's proven anything, when corporate owners are concerned about what the income is going to be, somebody's getting laid off. It's not my idea, it's not my rule, it just is what it is, and that's the way it is. Okay, many are losing money. Their stock portfolios, 401ks, their pension plans. Many have lost, members of my own family has lost as much as $15,000, $25,000. And this, they probably won't see it they probably won't get that back at all, because by the time this is all resolved, it'll have been switched around so many times. And unless you really follow the stock market and you keep an eye on portfolios like that, you're pretty much shooting in the dark. And if you really don't know what you're doing, you need to seek professional advice. Okay, as a summary, the current state of our economy being as it is with such a high employment rate, we have people concerned about as to the futures, increasing number of layoffs, rising number of foreclosures, which now currently are trying to be stemmed, because the more people losing their homes, the more the real estate market is going to be affected. And it really will. A lot of people don't understand the connection, but they are somewhat connected. Okay. Property that just sits around owned by a bank is doing them no good. They're losing money, and the banks, their whole job is to make money. And they will, one way or the other. It's just a matter of who's going to pay for it in the end. And it generally winds up being the consumers. Okay, now, many are still concerned, even those as well as in the early 20s should be concerned to our current state of the economy, because they will be paying the price and suffering the effects of what we're going through right now, probably a good portion of their adulthood. Because this is not something that's going to simply go away overnight. It's not going to be gone in a year or two. It took too long for it to get here. You can't solve a problem that's taken 4 to 5 years to develop and then just cure it overnight. It just doesn't work that way. Not at all. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience. It's going to take a clear, decisive plan, and it's going to take determination. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Thank you for your time, and see if you don't have any questions.
Good job, Willie.
Again,